Girls won't have anything to do with you, but you get back at them, don't you?
I won't listen to your filth. Look at him!
Hey everybody, we're the Cannon Cruisers. I'm JD.
And this gentleman is Randy.
And we're here today to talk to you about a movie called 10 to Midnight, starring Charles Bronson.
So if you haven't noticed, we've been making this subtle change from the Cannon Cruisers to the Bronson cast. But first let me talk about the plot.
Okay, tell us the plot.
So 10 to Midnight is a police procedural, like thriller / slasher film. In which we get to see the point of view of the serial killer and of the cops, and what each side is doing to mess with the other.
Yes, it's a cat and mouse game.
Thank you, that was the word I was looking for.
And before we get any further into this, let's take a look at the clip from the trailer.
A sensational crime. An airtight alibi.
We can't lay a finger on this guy.
And a chain of evidence.
Bring him in.
Charles Bronson is a cop looking for a killer, and he's running out of time.
And we're back.
And we're back. Okay, so we just got through a very short synopsis. But before we go any further, just want to say, you might have noticed we skipped a few movies again, and this is because Canon films are getting more difficult for us to find. It's not by choice.
So we may not tell you what the next film is at the end of the podcast.
Just because we say what the next film is does not mean that might be the film we're covering in the next episode, because it might be harder to find than we originally thought. But if we do find the film at a later date, we'll just cover it in another episode, so don't worry too much about it. Now, let's get to our impressions of 10 to Midnight.
Actually, before we do that, let's talk about the cast a little bit.
Oh, you want to talk about the cast? You want to talk about Charlie? All right, let's talk about Charles.
So once again, as I said before, because of the lack of our inability to find certain things, we're back to another Bronson film.
Another Bronson movie.
Another headlining Charles Bronson film.
Yes, this time he's a cop with an attitude.
He's a grizzled veteran cop. There's some murders in his small town. Actually, not that small. In a big city.
It's a city.
And his daughter is being targeted.
His daughter's a nurse, yes.
So we have, probably some people might know some of these names, but I'm just going to give you like the broad strokes, key characters. You have Charles Bronson playing Leo Kessler. Yes, he's a cop named Leo.
Yep, Leo.
You have his daughter played by Lisa L. Bacher. I don't know who she is.
Mm-hmm.
You have Andrew Stevens playing Leo's partner and apparently his best friend.
Oh, yes,
Paul McCann.
McCann was awesome.
And as our killer, introducing, I've never heard this actor before, Gene Davis. He's familiar. He plays the killer Warren Stacy. And we're going to talk a little bit more about him in a bit.
Not Gina Davis.
No, not Gina Davis. Gene Davis.
Oh, yes.
And the only other name anybody will really care about if we really... let me just follow a thread here. The only other name people might care about is Wilford Brimley. It plays Captain Malone.
Wilford Brimley.
But also, that little comment I made is I just realized that, she's in here in a smaller role.
Who?
Kelly Preston
Preston.
makes an appearance in this film as one of the nurses.
Oh, I didn't even notice her.
I think one of the nurses. Sorry if I'm a little messed up here, because I didn't notice this one before.
Okay, it's no problem.
That's fine. It doesn't specify who's... I believe it's one of the nurses.
All right, well, now that that's out of the way, let's just get straight into the impressions.
Okay. Of the last... This is the third of the Bronson films we have seen.
Yes, we saw Death Wish 2, and 10 to Midnight.
And this one I feel was probably not the best Bronson film, but I enjoyed it. It's my issue with the film is it's very uneven.
Yes, it is.
The film opens kind of unnecessarily with... Unnecessarily with the killer's first two murders that he does.
Yeah.
And while it does set the tone for what we are to expect of this killer, it doesn't really set the tone of the whole movie. It's it bookends the film.
Yeah, you should specify more that it takes place, that part you're talking about is literally right after the credits, where the first thing we are introduced to is Charlie Bronson, his character, and then it says the title, and then it goes to the killer.
And then roughly 15 to 20 minutes without Charles Bronson.
Yeah, it's disjointed that way.
And then you get this long, not even police procedural, more like a crime drama in the middle. As spoilers, Charles Bronson They can't find evidence and doesn't want to do good police work, tries to frame him for the murders that he did commit.
Yep. That's how he was apparently scared about his daughter, who he has a rocky relationship with.
Yeah.
An interesting bit of character drama in the middle.
But like I said, it's a weird back and forth because it's the final act of the film suddenly takes a twist again and goes from being cop procedural serial killer to a straight-up slasher film.
Yeah. My impressions of the film would probably be very similar to that. I do admire that they were trying to go for sort of a middle ground between a slasher film and a police procedural, which is kind of what Schizoid was trying to be. I think at this point it'd be a couple of years old. But this one is much better at it because it's just much better written overall.
And also, just to interject there's actually an odd connection between the two movies because the main motivation of both the killer in Schizoid and the killer in here seems to be sexual frustration.
Yes, it's done much better here.
This one here, it's
less psychobabble, more this is what it is, and this is what he's doing, and this is why he's doing it.
That's the only good point of those scenes that focus on him in the beginning of the movie is to show him that he's not actually, he's killing because he's sexually frustrated.
Yeah, but overall my impression would be it was a good movie. I enjoyed it. Charles Bronson usually puts out enjoyable movies, and this was no different. Now, for the highlights of the movie, we might as well just get straight into that. As I just said, it's Charles Bronson. He was awesome. He's always awesome.
I have a strange highlight, actually. It's would actually be the killer, because you feel zero... Whoa, what was that? You feel zero empathy for this character.
Zero empathy.
It's
None.
like they do such a good job of making you not like this character. You don't want to root for him in any way, shape, or form.
It's the way the actor portrayed the killer as...
He's a straight-up creep.
He has moments where you could feel something for him if he acted a certain way, but he always chooses the way that is wrong to act in every situation.
Yeah.
In a moral way. It's like somebody just says something to him off the cuff, and he'll just like glare at them and, what's your problem?
It's like, hey, would you like some coffee?
Yeah.
Not from you.
And he'll like just leer at them, and it's amazing just how
they
rotten the guy is.
100%.
But he's also he's not like a super villain. He's more like you can imagine a guy like this just being this hateful.
Yeah, you can. It's very real. Like I said, it's very much a crime drama throughout, and part of it is this depiction. And that's why he's the highlight, because he's one of the things that gel together.
Yeah.
Charles Bronson, I enjoyed him, but he's more like, hey,
he's the foil.
We have Charles Bronson playing Charles Bronson in a Charles Bronson film.
Oh yeah.
Under a Charles Bronson director.
I liked him playing a cop, though. It's a bit different than just the grizzled vet.
And,
very fun. Very fun performance.
And also the shtick for the killer is that he's so sexually frustrated. He kills everybody in the nude. He completely disrobes.
Yeah,
he takes everything off.
He's pretty disgusting.
And then he will stalk them naked with nothing but gloves and a knife.
Yeah, of the slasher movies we've seen so far, he's definitely the best villain, and he's definitely the creepiest.
Yeah, he is actually the creepiest of them all so far.
It's not even a contest, honestly.
It's like the other ones were cartoonish.
Oh yeah,
very cartoonish.
This one is more on the eerie side.
Like, to compare him to somebody else other than Schizoid, go back to Hospital Massacre with I'm the little boy staring through the window.
Oh yeah, that was ridiculous.
And then I kill your friend.
And your favorite, Midnight's Evil, with the
Midnight's
guy.
Evil, New Year's Evil.
Why do I keep getting that wrong? But yes,
I told you to do vocal exercises prior to this to not do it.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, compared to New Year's Evil with the man who literally just would stop what he was doing, go kill somebody, and just go off on his day, which was so ridiculous.
Actually, I thought that would have been funnier if he was just go off on his
way,
kill, and then went and then just
would have been funnier, except it didn't make any sense and why nobody could catch him, because it didn't make any sense.
But that's that movie, not this one. In the end, he's caught. Gives this really great performance. Yeah, it's like kudos to Gene Davis in this film.
Yeah.
Even that final scene, that's big spoilers at the end of the movie, he starts yelling at Charles Bronson while naked in the streets. All the things that would get him off the hook, that would make them think he's crazy. I hear voices. They tell me what to do. I'm not healthy. I'm sick.
This could have been his big moment to play to the crowd, basically, to say, see, I'm actually a victim. I'm actually the good guy here.
But he delivers it with such this smarmy, like, I know exactly what words to say to get me out of this. Oh.
He's completely unrepentant to the very end. And at the whole time he's given this speech, which is a nice touch, is Charles Bronson, who was not in the right for the whole movie, though, but he was in the right here.
Yeah, he did some bad things.
He could have literally shot him at any point he wanted, because not only was he threatening a police officer, not only was he waving a weapon around, not only was he being threatening, not only was he screaming, he could have killed anybody at the scene if he wanted to, if he just made a run for it. But he let him make his final speech regardless. And the guy didn't care. The bad guy, he did not care at all. And that made him, I think, a stronger bad guy at the end of the film. Now that we've got our highlights out of the way, we pretty much said the lowlights was the tone. The
tone, how the film was constructed.
Yeah, mostly, for me, it was mostly the beginning.
The directing wasn't that bad. It was just that I think there's more of a script issue.
My problem was more the beginning because of the way it would go in and out. But specifically right after...
It also felt about 15 minutes too long.
Well, yeah, because mostly, like I said, the kills, for instance... I understood why they had them there because it was the 80s and slasher movies were big.
Oh, and the gratuity of this film. There is so much, well, not with him naked, but there's so much just general nakedness.
The difference is I think it works for this film because of the way the killer works. So it would make sense that it would have that. My problem was more like at the beginning of the movie. For instance, the very first kill where he's chasing the woman naked and she's naked. That was really unneeded. It wasn't there. There was no point to it because of the way the film was constructed. Right after he left the cinema at the beginning, when he was spurned, his advances were spurned by the girl, he went and killed this person.
But wait.
What they could have done instead was had him go into the bathroom, which is how he escaped out. What they could have done instead is had him go out there and like cut, let's say, to Charles Bronson doing something, they cut back, have him come back, go back to the theater, and have short little flashbacks to the woman being killed. That would have made more sense.
The only correction I need to make to you on what you're saying there is that he purposely harassed the women in the movie theater. It wasn't a motivating thing.
He did it because he knew what would happen.
Yeah, he knew that people would remember that he was there if he was harassing these women.
Yes, that's exactly why he did it. But my point was that we still get those flashbacks to that scene when he comes back, which means that it's redundant. We don't need both of them.
But the other thing about that is that it shows that everything he did was not out of passion. It was, except for that one, but it was more or less actually more than one. They were all premeditated, more or less.
It was just him being hateful. He's a hateful person.
Because the ones that weren't premeditated were all
just him being
not
hateful.
crimes of passion. They were collateral damage. They were there.
Yeah, he was just doing it because he's a hateful human being. It's established several times he's not a good person. He actively wants to hurt people. And I guess this will lead into the score. You want to go first since you did your score first.
Yeah, like I said, it's like this is probably the worst of the Bronson films I've seen so far, but still better than most of the other films we've watched. So I'd still give this a 3. You just kind of see where I don't like it. It's like the pacing is off, but overall some of the performances were still pretty good.
Yeah, I'd give it a 3 as well. I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was good, but it had some weak points that could have been sanded off a bit, like we just described before. And I think that's it for this film.
Yep, tune in next week when we all discover what we're going to watch.
I don't want to say what we're going to do because I don't know if we're going to be able to do it.
Just to give you an idea, we're actually like 2 or 3 movies ahead of what the original plan was because we can't find these movies.
Yes, so we might
one
go
of
back.
Which is actually kind of notorious in a way, so it's like, we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. If we can't get anything, maybe you'll get a non-canon episode instead. Who knows? But anyway, with all that said, we're the Canon Cruisers. I'm JD.
And I guess for now I'm Randy.
And we'll see you next time. Keep cruising the Canon catalog.
Yep, keep cruising that catalog.